In this video we're going to add or subtract mixed numbers with no borrowing, what's called, and we'll see some subtracted with what's called borrowing in the next lesson. So in any case, in this one, here's our page 1 examples, page 2 examples, page 3, and then finally page 4. Okay, so we'll start on page 1. And in all of these examples, you notice that the denominators of the fractions are the same. Okay, so just a little, just to get us into the swing of things. If you just want to write down this example, and then we'll write this down. So 3 and 2/5 plus 4 and 3/5. Well, let's see, 3 and 4, we can just add those together, 7, right? Now we can just add the fractions. 2/5 and 5/5 and 3/5 is how many fifths? See, if the denominators are the same, right, we can just add the tops, right? Now, throughout these examples, we're always going to put them underneath each other because that is the easiest way to add or subtract these mixed numbers, okay? So 2/5 and 3/5 is 5/5. So I have 7 and 5/5. But hold on a second, what is 5/5? 5/5 is 1, or 5 divided by 5 is 1. So, and of course this is in fact 7. This is 7 plus 5/5 is what it is. So what I have is 7 plus 1, which is 8. That makes sense, right? 7 and 5/5 is 8, right? Okay, so by all means, you know, try and do this one yourself. We got 4 and 8/7 plus 1 and 4/7. What would that make? Well, the 4 and 1 is 5, right? Now, 8/7 and 4/7. How many 7s is that? 8 and 4 is 12, isn't it? So is that 12/7? Okay, so I've got 5 and 12/7. Now the 12/7 becomes what? We can turn that into a mixed number. 7 into 12 goes once, remainder 5, so 1 and 5/7. We still have this other 5 here, the 5, so it's 5 plus that, because there could be a plus sign between these, right? 5 and 12/7 is 5 plus 12/7, so it's 5 plus this. So what's 5 plus 1 and 5/7? Any idea? Isn't it just 6 and 5/7, right? Yep, 6 and 5/7. That was 8. That was it. Okay, how about this guy? 13 and 5/12 minus 4 and 1/12. Well, let's see. 13 minus 4 is 9. 5/12 minus 1/12 is 4/12. Okay? Now, do you think that's the final answer, or is there something else we need to do? Well, what about the 4/12? Could you put that in lowest terms? Right? So 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 12 goes 3 times, so this guy becomes 1 over 3, so that's 9 and 1/3, right? How about this? 2/3, 2 and 1/3 minus 1 and 1/3. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1/3 minus 1/3 is what? Well, just for fun, 0/3. Okay, so it's 1 plus 0/3, or 1 plus 0, right? It's 1, isn't it? Has to be 1, right? Okay, so let's have a look at page 2. We've got these examples here. 2 and 1/10 plus 4 and 3/5. Okay, let's just start with the number. 2 and 4 is 6. Okay, that was easy. Now, let's deal with a 1/10 plus 3/5. I've got a tenths and fifths. What do I need to do to add fractions? Don't we need to have the bottoms the same? Get a lowest common denominator, right? So, I mean, multiples of 5 is 5, 10, 15, and so on. So 10 is a multiple of 5. So what do I multiply this by to turn it into 10, right? Well, 2, right? So I've got to times this guy by 2 over 2. So he becomes 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. So instead of 3/5, he becomes 6/10. So I'm adding, right? So I'm going to take, that's just still 1/10. So I'm going to take my 1/10 and I'm going to add 6/10, right? And that'll be 7/10, won't it? And I can just put that here, 7/10. Does that make sense? So the answer is 6 and 7/10 basically. I guess I should have written the fraction beside it. 6 and 7/10, right? So here we have 3 and 5/6 minus 1 and 2/3. Now what? Do I need to make the bottoms the same? I've got sixths and I've got thirds. If I think about multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9 and so on. So I can turn this into sixths, can't I? 3 times what gives 6? 3 times 2, right? And same at the top. So in any case, this becomes I guess anyway. In any case, this becomes 4/6, and this is 5/6. Okay. Now I'm subtracting. You see, so 3 minus 1 just gives me 2, and 5/6 minus the 4/6 gives 1/6. So the answer is just 2 and 1/6. Okay. Does that make sense? So see if you can press pause and get this one all by yourself. Press pause and do this one yourself. You've got 12ths and 6ths and you're adding. Okay. Okay, so now I'll do it. So if I think about multiples of 6, I've got 6, 12, 18 and so on. And so 12 is a multiple of 6, so I can turn this guy into 12ths by multiplying him by 2, right? So this guy becomes 2 12ths. And here I've got, okay, 11 12ths. Okay. Now I'm adding. So 9 plus 4, of course, is 13. 11 12ths and 2 12ths is in fact 13 12ths. Now this is an improper fraction. I've got to turn that into a mixed number and keep going with this, okay? So turn this into a mixed number. 12 into 13 goes one time, remainder 1. So 1 and 1 12th. And I still have 13. You see, that didn't disappear. So 13 plus 13 12ths is the same thing as 13 plus 1 and a 12th. And of course 13 and 1 is 14. So that's 14 and 1 12th, right? So just step by step, one step at a time. Take your time, no rush. You'll get it. So page 3, these denominators might require 2 steps to get a common denominator, okay? So let's start with 4 3/4 plus 2 1/5. Okay, so 5's, we've got to make a common denominator here. So we can think about multiples of 4. We got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And 5 goes into 20, right? So the lowest common denominator would be, well, if we make the bottoms the same, we'd multiply this guy by a 4 and this guy by a 5. And now the bottoms are the same, right? So, or lowest common denominator would be 20, right? Whichever way you want to talk about it. Okay, so in any case, this fraction 3 times 5, that becomes 15 20ths. This fraction 4, this is 4 over 5 times 4, 20. So we got 15 20ths and 4 20ths. And I'm adding. So I've got 4 and 2, okay, that's 6, so that's all right. And instead of the 3/4 got turned into 15 20ths, the 1/5 got turned into 4 20ths. So 15 20ths and 4 20ths is, of course, 19 20ths, right? And this is a proper fraction, and so we're done. That's the answer, right? How about subtracting? 7 and 2/3 minus 4 and 1/8. And you could try and get the lowest common denominator, but you know, you need to list the multiples of, say, 3. So you get, or 8, I guess. So 8, 16, 24. 3 doesn't go into 8, 3 doesn't go into 16, but 3 does go into 24. Or you could say, look, I just want to make the bottoms the same. So I've got to multiply this guy by something and this guy by something, right? So I'll multiply him by a 3 and him by an 8, right? Now the bottoms are the same. Or, you know, just multiply this by 3 over 3 and this guy by 8 over 8, right? So in any case, this top fraction becomes 2 times 8, 16 over 3 times 8, 24. 16 24ths. This one becomes 3 24ths. And now I'm subtracting. So 7 minus 4 is 3. And 16 24ths minus 3 24ths. 16 minus 3 is 13, right? 13 24ths. And that can't be broken down, put into lower terms than that, and so that's the final answer there. So let's try this one. 12 and 7/8 minus 3 and 5/6. Okay. So you can take your multiples of 8 if you like, I guess, or multiples of 6, but multiples of 8, you've got 8, 16, 24, right? 6 doesn't go into 8, 6 doesn't go into 16, but 6 does go into 24. So if I turn the bottoms into 24s, that'll work, okay? Or, you know, the easiest way to make both bottoms is say, well 6 times 4 is 24, right? So we'll do that. 6 times 4 is 24. 5 times 4 is 20. And 8 times 3 is 24, right? So I've got to times this guy by 3 over 3. So 7 3s is 21. And 8 3s is 24. So I've got 21 24ths. And now I'm subtracting. So 12 minus 3 is 9. 21 24ths minus 20 24ths is 1 24th. And that's the answer there, right? Okay, page 4. Now we've got 3 mixed numbers. So I guess first of all, I mean, if I'm just adding these 3, look, 1 and 2 is 3 and 5 is 8. So I mean, the number's okay. I got that part. Now I need to add the fractions. So I've got 3 fractions to add, and I've got sixths, fourths, quarters, and halves. Okay, so let's see. If I think about multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, look, 6 goes into, or 4 goes into 12, doesn't it? And 2 also goes into 12. 4 doesn't go into 6. So lowest common denominator would be 12, right? So what, 6 times what gives 12? 6 times 2, right? And same at the top. And so we get 5 times 2, that's 10, over 6 times 2, 12, right? 10 12ths. And now 4 times what gives me 12? I want to get 12ths, right? 4 times 3 gives 12. I must multiply top by 3. So this 3 quarters becomes 9 12ths. And 2 times what gives 12, right? 2 times 6, right? 2 times 6 is 12. 1 times 6 is 6. And I'm adding. So 10 and 9, that's 19. 19 and 6 is 25. So I've got 8 and 25 twelfths. Now hold on a second. That's not a proper fraction. I've got to turn that into a mixed number, okay? So 12 into 25 goes how many times? 12 into 25? 2 times, remainder, because look, 2 12 is 24, isn't it? So remainder 1, isn't it? 2 and 1, 20, whoops, 1 12th, 2 and a 12th, right? But of course I still have the 8, So 8 and 25 twelfths, or 8 plus 8 and 2 and a 12th, which gives me 10 and 1/12, right? Okay, this guy, I've got thirds, eighths, and quarters. So what's the lowest common denominator for these three fractions? Oh, first of all, let's just add the numbers. 3 and 2 is 5, isn't it? 5 and 5 is 10. Okay, let's do that part. Now we'll deal with the three fractions. And I guess the biggest number here is 8. So if I look at multiples of 8, 8, 16. Now 4 goes into 16, but 3 doesn't go into 16. So do another one, 24. Okay, now 4 does go into 24. 8 goes into 24, of course, and 3 does go into 24. So there's our lowest common denominator, right? So we need 20/4, right? So I've got to multiply all the bottoms by something to come up with 20/4. So, well, 8 times 3, of course, is 24. We know that. And so 1 times 3, so this becomes 3 20/4. And 3 times what gives 24? 3 times 8, right? So times this guy by 8 over 8, so that's 16 20/4. And 4 times 6 is 24, and also the top 6, right? 3 6 is 18. And add the 24, so I've got 16, and 3 is 19, so 19, and 19, got to add that to 18. So 9 and 8 is 7, carry the 1. 1 and 1 and 1, that's 3. So I've got 10 and 37 20/4, right? Adding all the 20/4. So this is an improper fraction. Got to write that as a mixed number. 24 into 37 goes how many times? 1 time. And remainder what? You've got to go 37 minus 24. 7 minus 4 is 3, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So 1 and 13 20/4. Of course, what do you do with the 10? That doesn't disappear, right? It's 10 plus that, right? So that's 11. 10 1 is 11. 11 and 13 20/4. Okay.